Stephen A. Smith didn't hesitate. He went on air and said what Browns fans have been whispering for weeks. Shedeur Sanders should be the starting quarterback. No hedging, no maybe. Just a bold claim that cuts straight through Cleveland's foggy quarterback controversy. What's striking is that this public endorsement didn't come from the Browns' locker room. It came from ESPN's loudest voice. And when Kevin Stefanski didn't respond with the same certainty, the noise grew louder. Smith wasn't just advocating for a young player. He was openly challenging the head coach's entire approach to leadership.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
This moment highlighted what's been simmering under the surface all season. Stefanski's refusal to commit to Sanders isn't about performance, it's about control. The more the coaching staff leans on shaky options like Dillon Gabriel or fading names like Joe Flacco, the more obvious it becomes that fear of failure is shaping decisions more than any long-term strategy. The Browns aren't just losing games, they're losing their best chance at building something real. Not sometime in the future. Now. And the moment those words hit the airwaves, Kevin Stefanski's blood pressure probably hit the roof. Because here's the thing, this wasn't just another sports debate. This was a direct shot at how Stefanski's handling his roster, his locker room, and, let's be honest, his entire coaching identity. For weeks, maybe months, Stefanski has been tiptoeing around Shedeur Sanders, giving him scraps of game time, shielding him from pressure, and constantly defaulting to quarterbacks who've either peaked, flopped, or both. But then Stephen A. comes in, and just like that, Shedeur becomes the face of the controversy. A young, confident, highly skilled quarterback suddenly pushed into the center of the Brown storm. Not by the coaching staff, but by the media. And it's not hard to see why that would make Stefanski sweat. Because this isn't just about game tape. It's about control, optics, coaching pride. And right now, the optics are ugly. Look at the Brown season. The quarterback carousel has been spinning like it's on fire. Joe Flacco, Bailey Zapp, Dillon Gabriel. None of them long-term solutions. None of them building toward a sustainable future. Gabriel in particular has been favored for reasons that are unclear. Inconsistent performances? Sure. Flashes of potential? Occasionally. But if Stefanski's goal is to win games while building a future, why does Sanders keep getting shoved to the side? Every time he touches a field, Sanders shows something. Poise. Vision. A calm under pressure that's rare for a quarterback this young, especially in Cleveland's unforgiving market. He's not perfect, of course. Holding on to the ball too long? Yeah, that's been an issue. But you know what helps with that? Game reps, trust, a real opportunity to grow into the role, things he's not getting. Instead, Stefanski clings to familiarity, to safer options, to the quarterbacks he knows. It's a classic case of coaching conservatism. Protect your ego, protect the system, avoid the big gamble. Even when the gamble is sitting right there, flashing signs of being the guy. And it's not just fans who are noticing. Analysts are tearing into this philosophy. There's a growing sense that Stefanski is stunting his own team by refusing to trust the obvious talent right in front of him. This isn't just about quarterback stats anymore. This is about a coaching mindset that feels increasingly outdated, safe but stagnant, conservative but costly. Because when you refuse to commit, you don't just hurt one player. You rattle the entire locker room. Team morale dips. Chemistry falters. Players start to question the process. If Sanders can't get a fair shot despite his obvious upside, what message does that send? It says that development takes a back seat to caution, that the future is less important than protecting today's image. And in the NFL, where momentum can disappear overnight, that kind of thinking doesn't cut it. So let's be real, no one's out here pretending Shedeur is a finished product. But if the Browns are serious about building something that lasts, why waste time pretending anyone else on the roster is the answer? Joe Flacco is not the future. Bailey Zapp? Please. Dillon Gabriel has had his moments, but none of them scream franchise quarterback. The only one with that kind of ceiling is Sanders. And yet, Stefanski hesitates. That hesitation has consequences. Offensive inconsistencies. Poor execution under pressure. a constant feeling of instability behind center, and worst of all, a missed opportunity to let a young quarterback grow with the team rather than behind it. The thing is, you can't develop a quarterback while keeping him on a leash. You have to let him take the reins. Let him make mistakes. Let him learn on the fly. That's how progress happens. That's how leaders are made. By holding Sanders back, Stefanski isn't just delaying development. He's damaging it. And the longer this goes on, the more obvious it becomes. The Browns don't have time to keep playing it safe. Their playoff window isn't getting wider. This isn't a roster with endless years to figure out. The pieces are there. The talent is there. What's missing is a quarterback who can grow into the role while leading the team. That's Sanders. The coaching indecision? That's the real problem. One week it's Gabriel. The next it's Flacco. Then back to Zapp. It's musical chairs with no direction. No bold vision. Just a rotating cast of placeholders while the real potential sits on the bench. And all of this could be avoided with one decision. Trust Sanders. Give him the job. Let him take the hits. Throw the picks. Learn the reads. Yes, there will be growing pains. That's part of the deal. But those short-term bumps are worth it when you're investing in a future franchise quarterback. The irony here is that the very thing Stefanski seems afraid of, risk, is the one thing he needs to embrace. Because sticking with the status quo hasn't worked. Playing it safe hasn't brought stability. And ignoring the obvious talent hasn't improved. Too. There's no plan B come and save this team. The answer's already in the building. But instead of building around Sanders, Stefanski keeps acting like he's the emergency backup. That's not how you develop leaders. That's how you waste potential. And let's not gloss over the bigger picture. This isn't just a Browns issue. This is what happens when coaching staffs prioritize ego over evolution, when they fear failure more than they chase success. You don't win in this league by hiding your talent. You win by unleashing it. That's what Stephen A. tapped into. That's why his comment landed like a bombshell. Because beneath the hot take energy was a truth everyone's been feeling. It's time. Time to stop waiting. Time to stop hedging. Time to give the team to the guy who might actually be the future. Shedeur Sanders deserve that shot. And the Browns? They need to stop pretending they have better options. Because they don't. Every week that passes without Sanders getting real reps is another week lost. Another opportunity squandered. And if the Browns flame out this season because of quarterback instability, the blame won't be on the players. It'll be on the coach who couldn't commit, who saw the path forward and chose a detour, who kept playing it safe while the season slipped away. It's not too late to fix this, but it will be soon. Let the kid lead. If you're just as fed up with the Browns' quarterback merry-go-round, hit that like button. Drop a comment and let me know. Should Stefanski give Shedeur Sanders the reins? Or is this just more Cleveland chaos as usual? And if you're loving the drama, don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty more meltdowns coming your way. And here's where it gets even more maddening. Because it's not just a matter of one bad decision. It's the accumulation. Week after week of Stefanski standing at the podium, offering vague explanations, half-hearted praise, and the same recycled coach speak about competition and what gives us the best chance to win. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders sits, watches, waits, and when he does get snaps, it's often in garbage time, or mid-game when the offense is already scrambling for a pulse. How is any young quarterback supposed to thrive like that? It's football malpractice. You can't throw a rookie into chaos and then shrug when he doesn't look like Tom Brady. But that's what Stefanski is doing, setting Sanders up to fail, then using the results as proof that he's not ready. Ready? Based on what standard? Because the ready quarterback Stefanski has leaned on this season haven't exactly been lighting up the scoreboard. Gabriel's looked like a deer in headlights half the time, and Flacco, God bless him, is played like a man whose best football was 2 presidential administrations ago. And still, Shedeur can't get the nod. Can't get the reps, can't get the system tailored to his skill set. The irony is glaring. Here's a quarterback who actually fits the mold of a modern NFL offense. Mobile, accurate, calm in the pocket. He's not just the future. He's a fit. And yet, Stefanski's coaching feels trapped in 2016, desperately clinging to quarterbacks who look like they came from a different era. This isn't about just talent anymore. It's about trust. or the complete lack of it. And don't underestimate what that does to a locker room. NFL teams are ecosystems. If players see that leadership isn't willing to back someone as promising as Sanders, if they see a guy grinding in practice, delivering when given chances, and still getting passed over, morale dips, confidence erodes, not just for Sanders, but for everyone. Because if he can't get a fair shake, who can? The message from Stefanski, intentional or not, is clear. We'll keep running in circles as long as it feels safe. Forget the upside. Forget the spark. We're playing it safe, right into mediocrity. And that brings us to the bigger issue, strategy. Or rather, the absence of one. There's no long-term vision coming out of Cleveland right now. It's just a series of short-term patches. Panic starts. Emergency signings. Veteran plug-ins. The quarterback room looks more like a game of spin the bottle than a structured developmental plan. And here's the uncomfortable truth Stefanski won't say out loud. This team isn't going anywhere without a quarterback to build around. Period. And they have that guy already. But they keep acting like they don't. You want to know how franchises stay in purgatory for decades? This is how. By clinging to safety over vision. By giving 60% effort to a 100% problem. By refusing to say, let's commit, let's grow, let's build around this kid. And don't think for 1 second the league isn't watching. Every other team sees what's happening in Cleveland. Every analyst, every player, every fan. Everyone's asking the same question. What exactly is Stefanski waiting for? Because from the outside, it looks like fear. Fear of failure. Fear of being wrong. Fear that backing Sanders means admitting the other decisions were mistakes. And maybe they were. Maybe Gabriel wasn't the answer. Maybe the Flacco experiment was just a nostalgia tour. Maybe Stefanski leaned too hard on the play the experienced guy logic and forgot that potential needs playing time. That's okay. Coaches make mistakes. But refusing to pivot? That's not just a mistake. That's negligence. And let's talk about the fans for a second. Browns fans aren't dumb. They've seen it all. They know what quarterback purgatory looks like because they've lived it year after year, regime after regime. When someone like Shedeur Sanders shows up with the tools, the poise, and the upside, the city feels it. The fan base is ready to rally. But instead, they're watching another season circle the drain, while the one guy who might change everything holds a clipboard. There's a reason Stephen A. Smith's take landed so hard. It wasn't just noise. It was the first time a major voice said out loud what so many people have been thinking quietly. Why isn't this kid starting? Why isn't Stefanski handing him the keys? This isn't a team built to compete someday. This is a team that needs to know who it is now. The defense is competitive. The roster is capable. The quarterback position is the only thing keeping the Browns in a state of limbo. And yet, the coach refuses to fix it. How many more weeks of maybe next game can Sanders take? How many more back and forths in the quarterback room before the locker room checks out? There's only so long you can keep preaching patience before it sounds like avoidance. And here's where the clock really starts ticking. Because if the Browns continue down this path, they risk burning out the one person who might actually save this franchise. Quarterbacks like Sanders don't stay patient forever. They don't wait around while coaches fumble the decision-making. They either get developed or they move on. And if the Browns let this window close, that's not just on Stefanski. It's an organizational failure. It's not hard. Sanders needs consistent starts. He needs a game plan built around his strengths. He needs trust, not in words, but in actions. And the team? It needs direction, a commitment, a North Star. You don't find franchise quarterbacks every year. And when you do, you don't bury them behind washed-up veterans and call it strategy. You let them lead. You give them the reps. You deal with the growing pains because the upside is worth it. That's what separates winning franchises from the ones constantly chasing answers. Cleveland has the answer. But Kevin Stefanski is still treating it like a question. The time for waiting is over. The moment for half measures is done. Either you trust Shedeur Sanders now, or you spend the next 5 years wondering why you didn't. So let's really break this down. What exactly is Kevin Stefanski protecting at this point? Is it the illusion of control? Because that's already cracking. Is it a win now narrative? Because the wins aren't coming. Is it the comfort of sticking with guys he's familiar with? Guys who've shown him flashes in practice or have a bit more experience? Because experience doesn't matter if it's not producing results. What we're seeing here isn't strategy. It's stubbornness dressed up as caution. And stubbornness in the NFL gets coaches fired. You can feel the temperature rising. It's not just a few loud voices on sports talk shows anymore. It's a growing consensus. Something's off with the way this team is being managed. And at the heart of it, Stefanski's refusal to lean into the one asset that could redefine his entire tenure. Let's talk about potential. That's a word that gets tossed around a lot when we talk about young quarterbacks. But with Shedeur Sanders, it's not just theoretical. We've seen the flashes, the throws under pressure, the composure, the decision-making. He's not some random developmental project. He's the real deal, the kind of player you build an offense around, the kind of player that energizes not just a locker room, but a whole fan base. And yet here we are, week after week, watching other quarterbacks get opportunities they've already squandered while Sanders gets shuffled in for cameo appearances. It's like watching someone try to keep a Ferrari in the garage because they're worried about scratches. The point of the car is to drive it, and the point of drafting talent like Sanders is to play him. What's worse is that this isn't a slow play situation. This isn't a Patrick Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith in a stable, playoff-bound environment. This is a Browns team desperate for identity at the most important position in sports. Every game that goes by without clarity just makes things murkier, messier, and more frustrating for everyone involved. Look around the league. The teams that succeed, they pick a direction and go. They don't try to please everyone. They don't hedge. They don't get paralyzed by what-ifs. They commit. That's what Stefanski hasn't done. He's hedged every decision. Tinker with a depth chart like it's fantasy football. And in doing so, he's left his most valuable piece sitting in limbo. You don't develop a quarterback by feeding him a few drives here and there and then yanking him at the first sign of trouble. That's not how leadership is built. That's not how confidence grows. You want Sanders to improve? You want him to stop holding on to the ball too long? Give him a real week of prep, a full game plan, a real chance. Because every time he gets subbed in mid-game or thrown into bad field position with zero rhythm, the narrative becomes, see? He's not ready. Of course he's not ready. You haven't given him any chance to be. And let's not ignore how this affects his development long-term. Quarterbacks don't just magically evolve. They need time. But more importantly, they need investment. If Sanders doesn't feel like the franchise is behind him, if he starts to sense that no matter what he does, he'll always be the backup behind someone safer, it's over. Not this year. Not next year. But soon. Because young quarterbacks, especially ones with real upside, don't stay in bad systems forever. They move on. They go where they're trusted. And if that's not Cleveland, then Cleveland loses. Again, you can already feel that potential tension brewing. Every post-game press conference. Every cryptic answer about the quarterback room. Every sideline shot of Sanders with his helmet on, standing beside a coach who's looking anywhere but at him. And fans are getting louder. Louder than the play calling. Louder than one. It's not just about wanting to win. It's about believing in someone. The fan base wants something to root for, something to believe in. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is the only quarterback on that roster giving them hope. But hope doesn't mean anything if the people in charge don't back it up. So what now? Stefanski's been cornered by this situation. He either finally makes a move and hands the offense over to Sanders, or he continues his carousel of mediocrity, hoping no one notices the season slowly slipping away. But let's be honest. Everyone has noticed, even the players. You think the locker room doesn't see what's happening? That they haven't picked up on the fact that the best quarterback on the team isn't the one starting on Sundays? You can only repeat, he's not ready yet, so many times before it stops being a statement and starts being a smokescreen. What Stefanski doesn't seem to realize is that indecision is a decision. Every game without Sanders is a game decided in fear. And that kind of fear spreads. It spreads through the staff, through the players, through the organization, and eventually it spreads through the results. Look, there's no guarantee that Sanders starts tomorrow and everything clicks instantly. That's not how football works. But at least it would be progress. At least it would be direction. At least it would be a coach saying, this is the future, and I'm backing him 100%. That kind of clarity, it changes everything. It builds identity, momentum, confidence. Even when there are bumps in the road, the team knows who they're fighting with. Right now, they don't. Right now, they're fighting with ghosts. And if Stefanski doesn't act soon, he's going to lose this team. Not just in the standings, but emotionally. The locker room can't rally around a quarterback carousel. They can't build chemistry around maybes. They need someone to lead, someone to follow. They need Shedeur. So where does this all end? Either Stefanski swallows his pride and does the right thing, starts Sanders, builds the offense around him, and gives the kid the runway he deserves, or he keeps clinging to a system that's already crumbling, hoping a few safe bets will buy him time. But time is running out. The season's already in critical condition. The trust is fragile. And the longer Stefanski stalls, the louder the noise gets. The choice is obvious. Let the kid play. If you're with us and you've had enough of the endless quarterback confusion in Cleveland, hit that like button. Share this video with your fellow frustrated Browns fans. And drop a comment. Should Stefanski finally commit to Sanders, or has the window already closed? And hey, if you're all about dissecting the drama, don't forget to subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next.